Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity, powered by Empowering Foundation. Today we have Dr. Meeta Sunil with us. Uh, Thank you, Dr. Meeta, for taking time out. And a brief introduction of Dr. Meeta is Meeta has done her BSc and Masters in Botany from Delhi University, after which she pursued a PhD and she worked at IBAB and got her degree from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, post which she joined Met Genome as a scientist and then Elucidata as a data consultant. Presently, she is at Excelra Knowledge Solutions as a senior scientific manager. Thank you, Dr. Meeta, and we welcome you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raja, for the nice introduction and for inviting me to this forum. It's a great honor and pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, so we start the conversation with our question, like how and when you decided that you wanted to be a researcher.
I think this is not a very direct decision that happened to me. I was not always sure from my childhood, but I did have some traits of, that would help me become a researcher. And I also have some bit of it acquired from my father, who's been a researcher all his life in different domains. He's a linguist and does a lot of research in the cultural, aspects of India. And he's been a principal research officer in UPSC. So that's I think that's where I get my research inclination from. But I originally, when I was doing my schooling and stuff, I was not sure I wanted to be a researcher. I was more inclined towards singing as a career, but that did not work out though. And I think I used to love teaching right from my childhood. So I used to teach myself, and I loved biology as a subject. From all the subjects, biology was my favorite. So either I knew I would do something either in singing or in biology. So I used to teach myself whatever I would learn from the school. I would come home, draw things on the board and, ask questions in the air as if I'm teaching the students. And then that would go beyond the scope of what was there in the book and help me think and, help me be more creative and logically what should happen next, how is the mechanism happening, what is the cellular subcomponents and all of that. So that was a thing I used to do playfully I used to do. But eventually, bio being my favorite subject, I pursued that. I did my basic education in pure sciences and botany, plant sciences. And during my master's, there was a project work that was given to us. It was in bioinformatics. About creating UPGMA trees, for 2 protein families. So I found that very, very interesting. So I wanted to pursue PhD, but then I want to pursue it in basic sciences. I wanted to do it in applied sciences. So I was looking for opportunities where I could, expand my skill set, get more exposure in the field of applied sciences rather than pure sciences. So immediately after my MSc, I didn't join PhD. After 2 years, I joined PhD, but in between I was exploring as to what to do. So I had joined as a development editor in publishing industry. And I was given the responsibility of bringing up books, developing books in the domain of higher education, all engineering and biotech. So when I was working there as an editor, I had 30 to 40 projects in hand going on in parallel, within which there was only 1 or 2 which was from biotech. Everything else was computer science and engineering. So I got exposed to a lot of all of these engineering concepts and IT concepts, microprocessors, microcontrollers, digital signal processing, automotive engineering, all of that. So I had to read it. I had to read all the raw manuscripts written by the authors as part of my job. So I did. Then I found it very, very interesting. I thought before that, I used to feel like, engineering is maybe not my cup of tea. I'm a bio person. Maybe IT and engineering is something that I'm not very comfortable with. But with this kind of a job profile, it changed my perception completely. I found everything very interesting. And I thought that everything under the sun, which, has been developed over years, many centuries as a field of study is interesting. You just need to see it from that perception. So I was sure that I wanted to do something which was in applied sciences, which involved biology, which involved technology. So I was looking for courses in bioinformatics. And at the time, I found out about IBAB. and because it offered a PG diploma course in bioinformatics. And I didn't find any other good institute offering such a course at that time. One was there in JNU, but I think it was discontinued by the time I was looking for it. Another was in Pondicherry University, but I found out about IBAB, and I wanted to pursue that, and I applied for it. But that year, IBAB was actually shifting its campus from where it was originally to its own land. So they actually canceled the written test and only kept interviews. So I was not very sure about how this institute would be at that time, because it had canceled the written test and was only inviting for interviews. So I dropped that year. So I applied next year because I again got good reviews about the institute from other people who were in Bangalore. IBAB is in Bangalore. So after my short stint with publishing industry, I was doing a lot of study in intellectual property rights. So I did diploma and some courses with World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, and I was doing well. But I was exploring as to what to do. I was still not sure how would I go follow a research path, but I was just exploring. But then next year, I got again, I applied to IBAB because I got good reviews, and that time they were conducting the regular selection process, like the written test, which was an all India level test, and then followed by an interview. So I think I was happy to find that opportunity. It offered a PG diploma course in bioinformatics, and it was not a very, very conventional course with a defined syllabus. So it gave me a very good exposure. So I joined that course, and that was a 1-year course plus 6 months internship. And I got introduced to Shubha ma'am there, who was teaching us one of the subjects in bioinformatics, and many other people like faculties. So after that graduation, the post-graduation diploma got completed. Shubha ma'am had a new idea. She was a recently joined faculty with Ramalinga Swami Fellowship, and she had just started her work in plant genomics, as a field of study. And NGS technology was just starting to boom at that time. It was a new, domain, a new tool for doing research, and it was high-end technology at that time. It has just started bubbling up and taking everybody's attention. So ma'am had that idea, and she wanted to do, a project on that, and she had created one project around it. And then she entrusted that project to me because it was in plant genomics, and I had a plant background, and my skill sets gelled well with what she was conceiving. So I was very lucky to be at the right place with the right people, with the right kind of technology coming up. So I was very lucky, and I got that opportunity. And then I could, took that position with ma'am for my PhD work. So it was, deciphering, characterizing the sequencing, the sequence of genome and transcriptome of Rajgera, which is Amner species. So PhD work, which I did for 5 years. So it is when my real research began, and that is what gave me a lot of good exposure and, helped me become a researcher in my own way, self-learning, acquiring all the skills necessary for being a researcher. So that is where the research journey started. And then I was able to apply whatever I learned there further in my jobs. And this is still, in the very beginning of my career, and I have a very long way to go, but this is how I was able to achieve what I really wanted within, and I'm still going.
Nice. And we always say that you have a long way to go, but the pace you have started, with Professor Subhash Srinivasan. And here I would like to mention to all our audience that you can always check Professor Subhash Srinivasan's video at Researcher Celebrity. We were fortunate enough to have her and think her, when you walk through her brain, and probably Meeta can educate us more about the mentorship of Professor Subhash Srinivasan. So for you, it was not a tough decision to join Professor Subhash Srinivasan as a mentor for your PhD. But what else you were thinking? Because when you are committing yourself for a PhD, you have to think it through. Right. So what were your thought process before joining? Because you said you have done master's project with her, like the course?
PG diploma in bioinformatics. So she was one of the faculties.
So it was not a very big decision that you want to pursue your PhD with her because you already knew her.
Basically, yeah, that is one thing. But the thing was, IBAB on the whole is a great institute. I must say this. It is very much equivalent to all the global level universities. I have personally got a chance to visit some of the universities in the United States, the level of infrastructure that they have, that IBAB has, and the amount of exposure that it allows the students, working with the reagents, working with high-end instruments, the labs, that the way they have been set up, the type of teaching that is imparted, rather than spoon feeding, enabling the students to visualize what's happening in terms of mechanisms and enabling them to self-learn, that's really commendable. And that is where a person can get converted from a student to a researcher. So I really feel the environment was very, very positive, very, very motivating. Our then director of the institute, Professor Yatindra, was so very helpful. He gave a good, big level of patronage to all the students, and especially me also. I'm very thankful to him. Then my co-guide who helped me work in the experimental part of my PhD was Dr. Bibha Chaudhary. She is an excellent guide too. So the level of skills that was available to me at the right time with the right environment, right positive environment. My parents felt that I was very safe within the campus. PhD, I was very far away from my family. And the way I've been brought up is, I've not been, I'm not a very travel kind of a person. I don't go out so much. Going away from family was something which was not even imaginable for me before that. But given that, my parents allowed me to go to Bangalore, stay there, do a full-time residential course, commit my 5 years of life to the course. So that is a very big decision. I was sure I wanted to do PhD. That's why I was looking for a domain like that and a course in bioinformatics. I didn't sit for any campus placements, which was part of the diploma course, because I wanted to do PhD. But at the same time, I was lucky enough that my ma'am, whom I knew, of course, and who is absolutely motivating. And I don't know if I should say the age, but I'm sure she must be 60, around 60 at that time. And she was traveling from US to India every 3-4 months. The type of zeal that she carries, the type of motivation, always smiling, always energetic, and the kind of brainstorming sessions I used to have with ma'am, it would enable me to, overcome any kind of an impasse. If your life is not a very smooth ride for everybody, there will be so many questions. You'll be able to answer some, you will not be able to answer some. There'll be impasses. Nothing would be working out. Then you still have to persevere, find out alternative approaches of finding out your solution. So brainstorming sessions with ma'am, was very encouraging. And looking at her personality, that at that age, she has so much of zeal, so much of enthusiasm, so much of passion. And she's traveling to and fro from US to India all the time. That was a very big motivation. So it was definitely a very easy decision for me to continue my education with her. But yes, and my parents also fully supported that. That was a big thing. Getting a family support is really important.
Oh, absolutely. So here, when we are celebrating this month for women in STEM, and as you mentioned that you were not a traveler, you have to travel to, you moved to Bangalore to pursue your PhD. Would you like to share anything like how being a woman, in research, you wanted to pursue your career, you chose that you want to do a PhD? Is there any difference when you see the male counterparts and female struggle? Is there any difference in that?
Well, I think everybody has their own set of challenges. When it's about making a big commitment like PhD, which is n number of years, not just a few months or 1 or 2 years, it's more than 3 years for sure, be it a guy or girl. It's a big commitment. So I think definitely there are one's own set of challenges. Even for guys, there'll be challenges of earning, of getting married or earning and stuff like that. For women also, there are a lot of pressure. As in, if you're aging, if you're going to go around 30, then you also have to get married. But it's slightly easier for women in that way that, manage your personal and professional lives during PhD rather than during your corporate life. But also in the first place, committing to PhD is a big decision, because if you have to especially go away from the family and you have to stay alone, manage, fend for yourself, then that is a big decision for sure. So everybody has their own sets of challenges. And if you allow me, I can share one incident of mine. I think it was not very easy for me to go to Bangalore in the first place, because like I told you, I'm not that much of a traveler. I would only, whatever is absolutely necessary, only those kinds of trips I would plan. So that's, I've been brought up and it's normal for me. So no pressures there. But for my parents to let me go to Bangalore, it's the biggest thing in my life. So the way it happened was, when I cleared the online exam from IBAB and I got selected for the interviews, somehow my name got missed in the list of interviews when they were scheduled, for the final dates were scheduled. So I sent out emails asking them, what is the date and all that. When my final interview date was told, I told my father, that this is done. I've cleared this exam and now there's this interview. I need to go there for an interview. So he said, he was a little hesitant. He said, if it was about joining an institute, going there in a residential place, that's a different matter. But just going for an interview, how would you manage? We'll all go, and from Delhi to Bangalore, it's flight. That's a big decision to make. So he was not very comfortable about it. And there's also a reason in the back end, which I'll not take too much time here, but that's what finally happened. So I was like, okay, so it looks like this opportunity is gone. So I said, fine. I told that to myself, that what is the worst that can happen? This opportunity already seems to have gone. So I still wrote an email to the institute saying that, for some personal reasons, I'm not able to come there personally for an interview. Could you kindly make a telephonic interview for me, like it happens in all the many other institutions of repute? So probably that email had some impact, and I was so pleasantly surprised that Director Sir himself, Professor Yatindra, along with another faculty member, they were happy to take a telephonic interview for me. So they took that for 45 minutes, and then they were happy to select me. So I think the best decision of my life so far has been to shoot that email. That conduct a telephonic interview for me. I'm not able to come in person. And that has really turned out to be the best decision. Because of that, I went to IBAB. I went ahead with my PhD. And that PhD is what is guiding me through my professional career completely. It has enabled so much of confidence, so much of self-learning skills, so much of a researcher skills, everything. So whatever in my life is because of IBAB's contribution.
Nice. I think here I would like to say to all the audience, as Meeta just said, being expressive, even so you are prepared for the worst, but still there is something which is best, which can work out in your favor. Just shooting that email, as she said, was one of the best things. So if you think that you are stuck or limited by circumstances, it can be anything. Okay. Just explore your options, because if you have that intent, you are ready to travel that extra mile. There is nothing which can stop you from achieving your goal. That's what I understand that Meeta has done for, even after giving up on it, she was like, okay, still I have one step to do, and she has done, and now she's where it is. And as you said, Meeta, about the life, that PhD has trained you for the rest of your life. This is what something in our conversation with one of our researcher celebrity, Dr. Jasprit Jain, she said PhD is choice of life. It's like you choose to do that, and then you are there. It trains you for the entire lifetime.
Right, exactly.
Yes. So how smooth or, the journey was for PhD, ups and downs, if you would like to share some of that?
I think environment-wise, it was very smooth. I have known some people who have not had a great experience in terms of the environment they got. There were health issues and stuff at other places. But for me, that was a very, very positive environment, very vibrant environment. Not only my mentors and the director of the institute, but also each and every faculty who was present there. They knew me as a student, and they were all there with a smile, always ready to, add to the positive aura. So maybe as a place is excellent. We were doing a project in plant genomics for the first time ever in IBAB. In fact, itself was a new technology. So we had to learn with the project. So not that we carried an expertise there. So definitely had certain set of challenges, but that is what a PhD life is about. It's not about spoon feeding. You have a biological question, you have to find solution that doesn't exist. You have to come up with a solution. So and I have also grown with that project. The kind of computational infrastructure that we had initially was quite limited. Then as we understood what are the requirements, that for high throughput data, you need really high and smart amount of computation. You need edge clusters. Nowadays, you need cloud also. So that time we had just a single workstation with limited RAM and limited storage. That was not enough for the type of computation that for doing de novo assemblies. My jobs would not go through on that system. We done Illumina and PacBio sequencing. So Illumina went through, but I couldn't do much with that. Whatever minimum I could do with Illumina, only that would run. You couldn't try a lot on that computation. So eventually, Professor was so supportive, Professor Yatindra, and of course my ma'am also. She also kept, applying for grants and stuff, and to make sure that we can get whatever we want for the project, all the type of infra and lab facilities and everything. But director especially, he helped us a lot in getting the right infrastructure. So actually with the project, as and when we understood what were the requirements for the computational aspect and even for the wet lab, director sir ensured that we got those facilities. It was not right in the beginning. It was towards the middle of my PhD, and then eventually kept growing as and when required. But that happened. So we had challenges in terms of the infrastructure that was originally available. And then there were issues as in challenges. For example, I remember PacBio sequencing. That was never working for us. The de novo assembly was not working. It was a new technology again, not the type of open source softwares available for performing de novo assembly with PacBio data at that time. What was not great. We tried n number of tools, n number of assemblers, but nothing was working out for the kind of data that we had. And eventually, I've also acknowledged in my thesis, there is a beautiful de novo assembler which was designed for bacterial genomics, not for plant genomics. Plant genome is much more complex. But I used called Meeta. So I used that at the end of my PhD when we kept trying for 2 years, but we were not able to get a good assembly with PacBio. I tried that. Ultimately, again, with the same process. What is the worst? Things are not working out. Let me try this because I've worked with it before. And I tried, and it ran for 55 days, which is not a great amount of time in the corporate world, but in academia, at least something was working. So it ran for 55 days and it gave me a good assembly. So I have acknowledged the author of this tool, Bashan Shavra, if I'm pronouncing it correct. In my case, I was very happy that he created this tool and I was able to use it. So there were impasses like this, like we have faced, a block that things are not working out, but we kept trying alternate approaches, alternate algorithms, alternate tools, just kept trying again and again. And doing other multiple things that if this finally does not work out in the end, even then the PhD cannot stop. The scope of the work has to be completed. So what are the other things that we can include in the thesis and, pursue those and, get the right papers and get the right information out there in the public domain through the work. So that's how we did it. So it was a great journey, and I got a lot of good because I was personally doing a lot of multiple things. That's the kind of opportunity that was given to me. I was doing farming because it was a plant that I was working on. So I was doing all the farming myself, harvesting everything, making a herbarium, taking care of all the storage needs, lab experiments, doing all the computational experiments, everything under the sun possible for that PhD. I was doing it. And my faculties, my mentors, my director, sir, everybody was really supportive and very helpful. So it was a great ride. But yes, ups and downs are there. So I also had my share, but overall it was an excellent journey that I had.
Nice. And I think it gives you extra contentment when you are doing all of your experiments, starting from the scratch, as you said, growing the plants, and then doing all the upstream work and downstream work, all of it. It gives you a different feel of it. Because I remember sometimes when you're collaborating, you are getting pieces from others, and then your job is just to put together everything, stitch it, and then that is the fruit of whatever everyone has contributed to. But when you are doing entirely from scratch, from 0 to 100 by yourself, that gives you that sense of accomplishment, that this is what is my baby. That's how it works.
Right, exactly. I used to actually call the plants my babies and ask my friends to talk to them.
Absolutely. And I think this gives you a little bit of freedom also, that you have something out of, especially in case of bioinformatics, when you have to be on the computer entire day, night, all the time. As you said it, the program ran for 55 days. If we'll talk to some other people who are not from bioinformatics, or who are not researchers hardcore, like using technology, they can never, agree with this, that a program can run for 55 days or longer. And that's when you have to wait, because now the supercomputers are there. People cannot think that this thing can take 55 days.
Right, exactly. This project was carried forward by other students after my PhD got over with Shubha ma'am, and now they have come up with a much more refined genome assembly using the state-of-the-art tools. But at that time, those tools were not working. They were not that mature.
Yeah. And here I would like to mention to all the audience that, as Meeta said, there were dots always. In research, what makes you a unique researcher, that the information is available. As she said, that program was not for plants. It was for microbial, if I'm right, bacterial.
Right.
But she gave it extra kick that, okay, let me try this. And that's when the fruit came out of it. So don't limit yourself also that, okay, whatever is available, I have to use it. No. That can be a part of research, but that is not how research works. Sometimes you have to move out, expand your horizons. Just take example of CRISPR. It was invented, it was discovered a long time back, but just Jennifer Doudna and Carpenter said that, okay, can we use it for another way? And then the story is like, the rest is the history. Coming back, Meeta, you said that there were initial ups and downs with the PhD. You successfully got the degree awarded. After PhD, what were you thinking, that you wanted to be in research now because you have tasted research full time in your PhD? Or there were thoughts that, okay, you want to do something else?
No, absolutely. I always wanted to be in research. But I think I wanted to have the corporate experience also. So when I joined MedGenome after my PhD, I joined the R&D team there. So I was, and I till date, I feel that my skill sets align more with research, making interpretations, joining the dots together, trying all different alternative approaches that are possible if you're not getting answer to a given question. Be very intellectual about it. That's my real inclination. So even in whatever the jobs I'm doing in that also, that is the research kind of an orientation aspect is there in my job profile. So I did join corporate after my PhD. I was thinking of postdoc also at the time, but I wanted to do that from abroad just to get a different kind of an exposure. My thought process always has been that you should get 3 to 5 years of experience from abroad. So that's a different kind of an exposure and come back to India. I'm definitely not in favor of brain drain. But yes, that was a thought that was lingering in my head at that time. But now things are different. World is very small and open through the internet. You really don't feel like the necessity is there to go out. But we are doing good in India equally. So I think I did go to the corporate sector and joined the R&D sector. And there I was working on diagnostics. So I was employing NGS technology for diagnosis of the, different diseases, cancer and other genetic disorders. So that's what I did for 4 years. And even thereafter, the kind of projects I'm doing, they involve a bit of research, bit of product development, bit of consultancy, amalgamation. It's not pure research, but yeah, my real inclination is towards pure research.
Okay. And we always say that once a researcher, always a researcher. So nothing can, even if you are an administrator, your brain still works like as a researcher, and you always try to do that extra part of it. So now when you have achieved some part of what you wanted to, what are the future goals that you see as a researcher you are looking forward to?
So right now I'm still gaining a lot of experience in this domain. I eventually, want to contribute in some way that the research and development aspect gets stimulated in India. India becomes a research-centric country. What I see as of now in the corporate domain, as of now is we are like there are giant pharma companies or other companies which are based out of India. I mean, which are based out of US or Europe or somewhere else, but they outsource us their upstream parts. So we help them perform research and they perform the downstream research work. But I think I would definitely want to see, or maybe contribute in my capacity to get to see this level, that India itself has a lot of companies that are doing hardcore research in India. There are some companies which have already started, but there's still limited scope. I do definitely want to see this R&D centric, India becoming an R&D centric country. So that's my ultimate, bent of mind, that I want to contribute in some way, that, maybe we have companies where we are focusing more on research aspect, doing the downstream research, coming up with medicines or whatever, is required. So I want to push myself to that level, that I can contribute to making India a research centric country. But there's some way to go.
Yeah, no, I think that is what I can see is this entrepreneurial brain. The entrepreneur inside you is just waiting for the right time, and then probably with this intention of contributing to the country. I think it is also very important, just like a commitment to research. It is like you are committed because you want to do something to the community, to the country, and give your share. And I believe everyone should feel that same way. So we congratulate you and we say that you should never let this thing go. Always work on it. And you have proven it in the history, doing that extra work, connecting those dots. So we are sure, we have faith that you will do that one day for sure.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of good people have entrusted faith in me. So that has kept motivating me throughout my journey. And there's a long way to go. Yes. What you said about entrepreneurial mindset is also right. And but I don't think I'm prepared yet. I still have to acquire a lot of skill sets, understand what's happening, how are things working. But yes, down the line, definitely I would like to contribute in a way that I can, stimulate more of R&D activities in India.
So now, speaking of which, what are your thoughts about the role of networking in the achieving the goals which you just mentioned you have?
I think networking is definitely very important in every field. With networking, you will get exposed to whatever, a variety of things, whatever skill sets you want to learn, whatever technology you need to know, whatever infrastructure you need to build, whatever teams you need to build. You definitely need a lot of networking to understand how things are working, how, if it's about entrepreneurial mindset, you would want to understand how investors are working, who are the investors, who to reach out, how to pitch, everything. Like, and if you're not in an entrepreneurial mindset, even the networking is very important in understanding what is going on beyond your company, so that you're upskilled always. And you can probably through networking also find out more about potential leads for your own company where you're associated. So I think networking is definitely very important. You get to, really be visible in the space and contribute in the space and learn from the others. It's a mutual knowledge sharing and expertise sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And why I asked this was because now you are almost more than a decade in research in India.
Right.
You might have seen that some of the people are more open for collaboration, for networking than others. And what is a general perception that most of the researchers in India work in their own bubbles. They are not ready to, they're not very collaborative. So when a person with that enthusiasm like you enters into it, how do you believe that breaking those bubbles, just like Empowering Science believe in breaking the barriers, what do you think that, how important is that?
I think it is very important, but I also feel that people who are now accepting computational biology and bioinformatics as a tool for, this is a tool. This is not the ultimate solution to a given biological question. It's a tool that helps you come up with probable solutions, and then you validate that in the lab and say that, yes, this is the solution. So people have started accepting bioinformatics or computational biology as a tool, that it is a meaningful tool. It is really a domain which is worth studying. Some people probably are still not convinced about this field of study. They're more towards experimental biology as the ultimate thing, which is true, but bioinformatics and computational biology have a big role to play in minimizing the time you spend on research. It helps you to work more smartly to the real solution. So people who have started accepting it, I think they're more open to collaboration. I do see that collaboration is not that close bubble anymore. There are bubbles existing, but they're also breaking, they're also popping up. There are also collaborations happening, and are also at an individual level trying to contribute to the community through LinkedIn or Medium or other platforms. So I think that is now shifting, and people like me and others are also ready to collaborate. So I think collaboration is a good thing, and people are kind of accepting it now.
That is, I think, very important and very crucial for the community as a whole also. Either it is research or the community which is benefited out of the research coming out of it. So now we are almost walking towards the end of the conversation. I would like to know, like, what are your words which you want to tell the upcoming or the budding researchers that what they should consider before committing to PhD, or if they want to test that even if the research is their cup of tea or not?
Okay. I'll share my 2 cents here with whatever little experience I have in life. But there's a long way for me to be able to, hold that position to give an advice to somebody. It's not like that. But whatever little experience I have from that, I can definitely tell that if you're making a long-term commitment, you must definitely consider all your personal and professional aspirations and responsibilities and commitments. Some people might want to get married in terms of women, first get married and then join a PhD. Some people might want to get established in their profession, complete their PhD and then get married. There might be family pressure. There might be age-related factors that might induce pressure in the head of a woman. So I would say just weigh down all the options and then choose what you really want to do. And if there is one thing I would say that we should never neglect is self-care. I think we tend to ignore self-care and get overwhelmed at times. I think mental health in today's world is extremely important. For some of the women, especially, it can be very challenging considering, if, for example, I had mentioned previously that somebody's PhD environment cannot be if it is not very positive, then somebody can face a mental health issue there. Or for women, it could be matrimonial issues if the situation you're in is not great for you to be able to, give back to the society or grow further ahead. So things like that can be there. So you weigh out all the options, and sometimes we have to make strong decisions also, whether the place we are at is good for you or not, whether it's antagonistic or not, whether you are valued there or not. All of those things are also important. So you make strong decisions and think for long-term basis, what will make you eventually happy? How will you be self-dependent? And then I would say make the final decision. It could be a little challenging in the beginning. You might not be earning a lot. You're dependent on fellowships. But what you're gaining out of it in terms of the entire experience, which will enable you to be self-dependent for the entire rest of your life, I think that should definitely be given weightage to. And PhD is definitely not the only choice. People can follow multiple routes in their profession, go to corporate beforehand, then do a PhD or not do a PhD at all, depending on one's own choices. But as a research bent of mind will not stay happy simply in a corporate environment without doing any research. So one should identify one's own real interest, what makes you happy, what doesn't, and then make the final decision, giving thought to a long-term basis, not a short-term basis.
Nice.
And definitely taking a good care of yourself, your mental health, physical health, nutritional health.
Nice. I think that was a brief, and if I have to put those into bullets, so for all the audience, do the SWOT analysis first, that what you want to do, then do the prioritization. You have to prioritize that, okay, what are your priorities? And self-care, as Dr. Meeta has said, is always important. You should be valued. The environment should be friendly to you. Also, although there are always critics, which the places are full of critics, but you have to keep your head in a way that you are taking that criticism in a positive way and you make it more fruitful, your work. So thank you very much, Meeta, for all the experience you shared, all the word of wisdom. So now our last point, like, do you believe that you are a researcher celebrity?
Celebrity. Well, I am definitely a researcher and I have a long way to go to become, I don't know, celebrity. I think anybody who is doing good work should be celebrated. So in that sense, everybody is a celebrity. I'm doing my bit and still growing. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would like to say. Yeah,
Thank you for agreeing with this, because Empowering Science Foundation believes in breaking the barrier. And one of the barrier which needs to be broken in India is like seeing, and I believe it's not only in India, it's globally, that seeing researchers as our celebrity. So this series is about celebrating every researcher. That's how everyone is
a great initiative.
Yeah, thank you very much. We give all our best wishes for your future, being an entrepreneur and contributing, making the country more stronger. And here I would like to tell all the viewers that if you want, you can write to Dr. Meeta Sunil directly. She is a great mentor. As you have seen that she got a great mentor and now she is turned into one of the great mentors by herself. So if you want to connect to her, if you want Empowering Science Foundation to connect you to other of our researcher celebrities, feel free to write to us. And we will see you in another episode of Researcher Celebrity, Celebrating Women in Science. And thank you very much, Meeta.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity.